Chapter 1: 20 Japanese superfoods that can make you live longer. Somewhere on a small island chain in southern Japan, people have been living past 100, not as an exception, but as a pattern so consistent that Western scientists flew there with clipboards and laboratory equipment trying to crack the code. They kept arriving at the same answer. Not genetics, not climate, not luck. The food. The specific, ancient, carefully preserved food culture that the Japanese have maintained for centuries, while the rest of the world switched to processed everything and wondered why people kept getting sick faster, aging harder, and dying younger. Subscribe right now, because every single week, Hidden Ancient Harvest uncovers the forgotten foods and ancient food wisdom that modern science is only now beginning to fully understand. Welcome to Hidden Ancient Harvest, where ancient wisdom meets modern proof. Today, 20 Japanese superfoods linked to a longer, stronger life, ranked from remarkable to absolutely extraordinary. Visit my channel for Chapter 2. Let us begin. Food number 1: purple sweet potato, the foundation of the world's longest-lived people. Before fish, before rice, before anything elaborate, the foundation of the traditional Okinawan diet was a starchy root, the purple sweet potato, called beni-imo. Before Western food patterns arrived on these islands, this single root made up an estimated 60 to 70% of total daily calories consumed by the longest-lived population on Earth. That number demolishes the modern myth that carbohydrates accelerate aging. The deep violet color signals anthocyanins, plant antioxidants that protect cells from oxidative damage, cross the blood-brain barrier, reduce neural inflammation, and improve insulin sensitivity in muscle cells. Despite its natural sweetness, the purple sweet potato has a remarkably low glycemic index. It releases glucose slowly, steadily, preventing the blood sugar spikes that chronically damage vessel walls and accelerate every aging mechanism in the body. Roast it whole with the skin on. Let it cool slightly before eating. This increases resistant starch that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. The people who lived longest on Earth built their food culture around this root. Eat it without fear. Food number 2: matcha, the cellular shield drunk by warriors and monks. When you brew regular green tea, you steep the leaf and discard it. When you drink matcha, you consume the entire leaf, ground into fine powder suspended in liquid. Every antioxidant the plant ever produced arrives in your cup.
Food number 3: miso, the fermented pharmacy in a bowl. Every morning in Japan, across 1,000 years, one thing appeared on the table: a small bowl of miso soup. Miso is fermented soybean paste, inoculated with a mold culture called koji and allowed to ferment for months to years. During that fermentation, proteins break into bioavailable peptides, anti-nutrients are dismantled, and beneficial bacteria multiply in millions. Here is the paradox that confused researchers for decades. Miso is high in sodium, which should raise blood pressure. Yet daily miso consumption is consistently linked to lower cardiovascular mortality in the Japanese. The fermentation matrix overrides the expected biochemical outcome. The whole food behaves differently from its individual parts. Never boil miso. Add it after the heat is removed. The living cultures that took months to develop are destroyed in seconds by aggressive heat. Serve it alongside rice and pickled vegetables. This is a meal that costs almost nothing and has sustained one of the healthiest populations on Earth for 10 centuries.
Food number 4: natto, the sticky breakfast that could save your life. Natto is fermented soybeans,
It smells powerfully pungent. It stretches into sticky threads that challenge every Western food aesthetic. And it may be one of the most important cardiovascular foods ever studied. Natto contains nattokinase, an enzyme produced during fermentation by Bacillus subtilis bacteria. Nattokinase dissolves fibrin, the protein responsible for dangerous blood clot formation. The leading cause of heart attack and stroke is not only cholesterol buildup, but clot formation in vessels already narrowed by plaque. Nattokinase works directly on that mechanism. Natto is also the single highest dietary source of vitamin K2 in the MK7 form. K2 performs one critical function. It directs calcium away from arterial walls, where it hardens and narrows blood vessels, and toward bones and teeth, where the body genuinely needs it. Most Western adults are severely K2 deficient. Most Japanese who eat natto regularly are not. 2 or 3 servings weekly, stirred with soy sauce and mustard. If you take warfarin or any medication affected by vitamin K, consult your physician before adding natto regularly.
Food number 5. Wakame seaweed, the ocean's anti-aging compound found nowhere on land. The ocean is a nutritional category that most Western diets have abandoned entirely. The Japanese, who have eaten sea vegetables as daily staples for over 1,000 years, have been drawing from it in ways that modern science is still mapping. Wakame contains fucoxanthin, a carotenoid found almost exclusively in marine algae, not in land plants, not in any food grown in soil, only in the sea. Fucoxanthin stimulates a protein called UCP1 in fat tissue that generates heat rather than storing energy, thermogenesis. But more significantly for longevity, it inhibits inflammatory signaling pathways at the cellular level. The chronic low-grade inflammation researchers now call inflammaging, the process that drives accelerated biological aging throughout every organ system, is directly addressed by a food most Americans have never tasted. A small wakame salad several times weekly, or a handful rehydrated into miso soup daily. The Japanese built an entire cuisine around sea vegetables. You can begin with one bowl. Chronic overeating also triggers a specific cellular stress response. When the body processes food beyond its immediate energy needs, it generates excess free radicals, unstable molecules that damage DNA, accelerate cellular aging, and drive the chronic inflammation now understood to be the root mechanism beneath most age-related disease. Eating less does not just keep weight stable, it reduces the cellular damage rate. It literally slows the biological clock. The Japanese centenarians were not following a diet. They were following a philosophy. The food came second. The relationship with food came first. And that relationship began before the first bite. This is where the modern world went wrong. Not in choosing the wrong foods, though that matters. In forgetting that how you eat reshapes what your body can do with what you give it.
Food number 6. Tofu, the complete protein that built strong generations. Tofu gets dismissed in the West as bland diet food. It has quietly fed strong, healthy people for over 1,000 years. Made from curdled soy milk, tofu is a complete plant protein, supplying all essential amino acids your body cannot make on its own. After 50, preserving muscle becomes one of the most critical factors in staying mobile and independent. Tofu also delivers soy isoflavones associated with cardiovascular health and modest benefits for bone density and research. Press the water out, marinate it, and sear it hard in a hot pan. It becomes deeply savory. Populations that eat it regularly as part of a whole food traditional diet consistently show lower rates of cardiovascular disease, osteoporosis, and cognitive decline. This is not coincidence. This is 1,000 years of biological evidence.
The philosophy of nothing wasted. Shokunin, the craftsman's relationship with food. There is a concept in Japanese culture called shokunin. It is usually translated as craftsman, but that translation misses the deepest layer of the word. A shokunin is someone who has devoted their life to mastering a single practice with such complete attention and care that the practice itself becomes a form of reverence. Japanese sword makers are shokunin. Master sushi chefs are shokunin. And in the traditional Japanese household, the person who prepared the family's daily food was shokunin in the truest sense. If what you are hearing is reframing food not as restriction or medicine, but as philosophy, hit that like button right now. It helps this reach every person over 50 whose doctor is managing symptoms while the root cause sits untouched in their kitchen. Subscribe to Hidden Ancient Harvest. We go deeper every week. This is not romanticization. This is practical nutritional logic encoded into a cultural attitude. Daikon radish greens, which Western grocers trim and discard before the root reaches the shelf, are edible, nutritious, and routinely eaten in traditional Japanese cooking. The soaking water from dried shiitake mushrooms, which most Western cooks pour down the drain, is rich in the same beta-glucan compounds that made the mushroom worth buying. The Japanese pour it into the soup pot. The bony portion of a small fish, which Western culinary tradition removes and discards, is where a significant portion of the calcium lives. The Japanese eat the small fish whole.
Food number 7. Shiitake mushrooms. The immune architect, approved as cancer therapy. The Japanese cultivated shiitake on oak logs in mountain forests for over 1,000 years. They knew these mushrooms built strength and extended life before any laboratory could explain why. Shiitake contain a specific beta-glucan called lentinin, studied so extensively that it has been approved as an adjunct cancer therapy in Japan since the 1980s. Lentinin does not stimulate the immune system indiscriminately, which can cause inflammation. It trains it. It activates natural killer cells and T cells while simultaneously modulating inflammatory response, teaching the immune system to be smarter, not just louder. As we age, the immune system becomes both less responsive to genuine threats and more prone to inflammatory overreaction. Lentinin works against both simultaneously. When dried and exposed to direct sunlight, gills facing up, shiitake meaningfully increase their vitamin D content. Pour the soaking water into your soup. The Japanese waste nothing.
Even the water that soba noodles were cooked in, milky with dissolved buckwheat starch and rutin, is served warm as a drink at the end of the meal, called sobayu. Drunk with the quiet understanding that what the food gave to the water is still valuable. The rutin in that sobayu, the bioflavonoid that strengthens capillary walls and supports the microcirculation that keeps the brain and kidneys and eyes receiving adequate oxygen as we age, is not discarded with the cooking water. It is consumed completely as a matter of quiet cultural habit. This is what longevity looks like. Not a dramatic intervention, not an expensive protocol, not a supplement stack. This, the accumulation of small, correct choices, repeated daily, for decades, for a lifetime, for generations. Nothing wasted, nothing excessive. Nothing beyond what the body genuinely needs, offered in the form nature designed it to be received. Food number 8. Edamame, the ancient complete protein of longevity. Long before protein powders, before supplements, before anyone calculated macros, the Japanese had edamame. Young soybeans harvested before they hardened, boiled in salted water, eaten directly from the pod. One of the simplest foods in the Japanese diet and one of the most complete. A cup of edamame provides roughly 17 grams of plant protein, alongside fiber, folate, vitamin K, and isoflavones. As people age,
bone loss accelerates dramatically. So does cardiovascular risk. The isoflavones in edamame, genistein, and daidzein interact with estrogen receptors in ways that appear to support bone mineralization and reduce cardiovascular inflammation markers. The Western debate about soy has been largely about processed, isolated soy protein concentrates, a fundamentally different food from whole soy eaten the way the Japanese eat it, boiled in salted water, eaten directly from the pod. The simplicity is part of the wisdom.
Food number 9. Kombu dashi, the invisible foundation beneath everything. Kombu dashi looks like almost nothing, a strip of dried kelp steeped in water. Yet it forms the savory foundation beneath nearly every Japanese meal. Soups, stews, simmered vegetables, rice, and its discovery led to the identification of umami as a basic human taste in 1908. Kombu is extraordinarily mineral dense. Iodine, which the thyroid requires to regulate metabolism, energy, and hormonal balance. Magnesium, calcium, potassium, and unique polysaccharide compounds studied for their effects on cholesterol and blood pressure. A poorly functioning thyroid accelerates nearly every marker of biological aging. The Japanese, who consume sea vegetables daily, have among the lowest rates of thyroid dysfunction in the world. Simmer one strip of kombu in cold water over very low heat for 20 minutes. Use that broth as the base for everything. The invisible foundation beneath one of the healthiest food cultures in human history costs almost nothing and asks almost nothing of you. Food number 10. Sardines, the small fish the longest-lived people actually ate. The fishing villages of coastal Japan are among the places where researchers found the longest-lived, most cognitively intact populations studied. When they analyzed the diets, sardines appeared consistently. Not tuna, not salmon, not premium cuts. The small fish the fisherman ate himself. Sardines are loaded with EPA and DHA omega-3 fatty acids. Because they sit near the bottom of the marine food chain, they do not accumulate the mercury and PCBs that contaminate larger predatory fish. You receive the omega-3 benefit without the toxin load. DHA is structural. It makes up a significant proportion of actual neuron cell membranes. A brain not adequately supplied with DHA is working with compromised infrastructure, which shows up as faster cognitive decline, poorer mood regulation, and higher neural inflammation. Sardines also provide vitamin D and calcium in a highly bioavailable form because the Japanese eat them whole with their small soft bones, receiving a nearly complete mineral profile. Grilled simply, eaten whole. The fish the world overlooked was the fish the longest-lived people ate every day. These foods address the actual mechanisms of aging: oxidative stress, chronic inflammation, gut microbiome disruption, blood sugar instability, cardiovascular decline, cellular damage accumulation. Each one addressed, not dramatically, not instantly, but consistently, daily, over a lifetime. That is the Japanese approach. Not biohacking, not optimization protocols, not a 30-day reset. A relationship with food that is thousands of years old and has produced results that modern medicine is still trying to replicate in a laboratory. You do not have to move to Okinawa to borrow this wisdom. You can start with one bowl of miso soup, 1 cup of matcha, 1 serving of purple sweet potato, 1 small fish eaten whole. The blueprint was never lost. It was prepared fresh every morning in ordinary kitchens by ordinary people who simply never stopped. Smash the like button right now if this video gave you a completely different way of seeing food, not as restriction, not as medicine, but as a philosophy built over 1,000 years by people who simply never stopped eating the way their grandmothers taught them.
Subscribe to Hidden Ancient Harvest because every single week we go deeper into the ancient food wisdom that modern science is only now beginning to measure. The vault stays open as long as someone is still paying attention. Comment below right now, which of these 20 Japanese superfoods are you starting with this week? Are you Team Matcha, Team Miso, Team Purple Sweet Potato, or did food number 10 change everything? Visit my channel for Chapter 2, The Complete Blueprint. I read every single comment. Your answer shapes what this channel builds next. God planted the answer in the earth before the sickness arrived. You have always had access to the blueprint. Now you know how to read it. I will see you in the next one. God bless you.